I never thought I'd see the day when my entire world would shatter in one sitting. But there I was, staring at the mess of receipts, sticky notes, and the dozen or so messages on her phone, all evidence that my wife had been cheating on me. It was our 10th anniversary dinner, a night I'd planned carefully to celebrate a decade of what I thought was love, trust, and shared dreams. Instead, I got a front row seat to betrayal. We'd gone to that fancy restaurant downtown, one we'd always wanted to try. I remember the flickering candlelight, the soft hum of conversation around us, and how she looked stunning in that red dress that night. I'd been so proud walking in with her, feeling like we still had that spark. But all that pride turned to ash when I found her phone buried under her clutch, a message from someone I didn't recognize, clearly a private joke between her and her friend. That should have been a red flag, right? But I brushed it off. Until I saw the receipts tucked into that little leather folder she always carried. Hotel receipts, multiple ones, all from the last 2 months. The dates matched our anniversary week. My stomach sank and I felt cold sweat bead on my forehead. I clenched my fists, trying to keep it together until I saw the last piece. An unopened envelope slipped into her purse. I casually reached over, pretending to pick up my glass, and slid it out, unsealed, with her handwriting scrawled across the envelope. For when you need me. Inside was a hotel keycard and a handwritten note, something about a weekend getaway she'd planned with him. The words surprise and us jumped out at me. I couldn't breathe. My hands shook so badly I thought I'd drop everything. I'd been so blind, so naive. How many times had I ignored the small signs? The late nights, the secretive texts, the way she'd always shrug when I asked about her late shifts at work. I could feel the heat rise in my face, the pounding of my pulse echoing in my ears. I wanted to scream, to shake her, to scream at her for the way she'd lied to me. Instead, I sat there, frozen, holding her secret message that screamed betrayal. My mind went blank, but underneath the chaos, a dark, calm voice started to form a plan. I've been played. I've been so stupid to trust her. She looked up at me, eyes bright and innocent, or so I thought. "What's wrong, honey? You look pale," she said, reaching across the table. Her voice was smooth, fake even. I wanted to tear her apart right then, but I knew I had to hold it in. "I think I need some air," I muttered, standing up abruptly. My legs felt heavy, but I managed to walk out into the cool night air that hit me like a slap across the face. My mind was racing, thinking about all the ways I could turn this around on her. I wanted to see her panic, her regret. I wanted to make her feel what I felt, utter devastation, the kind that leaves your stomach hollow and your mind spinning. I didn't want to do anything reckless, but I knew I couldn't just walk away without a response. I needed a plan, something that would shake her to her core and ensure she regretted betraying me every single day. I stayed there in the dark for a long time, the cold air prickling my skin, feeling the weight of those receipts burning a hole in my thoughts. She thought she'd gotten away with it, thought her little secret was safe, but I had proof, and I knew from that moment there would be no more hiding. I just had to figure out the next steps. I already knew her favorite spots, her contacts, her habits. The pieces were there. I'd been betrayed, yes, but I'd turned that pain into something she'd never see coming. I could feel the simmering anger and determination building inside me. And I knew, once I got my head straight, that she'd regret crossing me. But what exactly that would look like, I still hadn't decided. All I knew was that the game was on now, and she wasn't going to walk away with my life, my marriage, or my dignity without a fight. The next few days were a blur of cold calculation. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, and every time I closed my eyes, I saw her smile, her laugh, that innocent face that I'd trusted for 10 years. That trust was shredded now. I looked at the evidence again, each piece feeling heavier, more real. I had to act, but I wanted to do it right, something that hit her hard, something she wouldn't forget. I started by tracking her phone. It wasn't hard. She'd always been careless about her location settings, and I knew her password from long before. I logged into her messages, her emails, her social media, and saw the same pattern. Secret messages, quick replies, emojis, and the occasional "can't wait to see you tomorrow." Every word dripping with betrayal. It made my stomach turn, but I pushed those feelings down. I needed clarity, not rage. What jolted me most was a message she sent to him on a night I'd been out with friends. It read, "The hotel is booked, everything's set. That confirmed the weekend getaway, the secret weekend that I'd paid for, by the way, without knowing. I clenched my fists so tightly my nails dug into my palms. This wasn't some innocent affair. It was a planned escape, a betrayal of everything we'd built. I started piecing together what I knew about her lover. I found out his name, his workplace, and his usual hangouts. Nothing too risky yet. I wanted to gather more to confirm everything before making any moves. The plan was to confront her, sure, but I wasn't about to do it blindly. I needed leverage, something that would leave her no room for denial or excuses. Meanwhile, I kept my cool around her, acting as if everything was normal. She'd come home, barely noticing my distracted silence. I'd catch her eye and I saw that flicker of guilt, or was it fear? Whatever it was, she was starting to realize that I wasn't going down quietly. I watched her every word, every move, waiting for her to slip up again. One night I saw her on the couch, scrolling through her phone. I sat beside her, pretending to be relaxed. "Hey," I said casually, "who have you been texting? Your phone's been glued to your hand lately." She froze for a second, then shrugged. "Just some work stuff, nothing important." Her voice was shaky, but her tone was defensive. That was a red flag. She was hiding something, and the cracks in her story were starting to show. I kept pressing, probing, until she snapped. "You're overthinking, it's nothing." That lie stuck in my throat like a bitter pill. I knew better now. She'd been lying to me all along. I looked her straight in the eyes and saw the guilt behind her facade, the fear of what I might find out next. The pieces clicked into place. I realized I couldn't let her keep playing innocent. I had to escalate fast. I needed proof that would leave her no room to deny what she'd done. I wasn't going to just confront her and hope for the best. No, I was going to give her a taste of her own medicine, show her I was no longer the naive husband she'd taken for granted. That's when I started planning my move. I knew her habits, her secret spots, her contacts. I even had a backup plan if she tried to deny everything. I wasn't going to let her get away with this, not without a fight. I'd gather everything, more receipts, messages, anything that proved her betrayal. Once I had it, I'd confront her in a way she'd never forget. But I also knew I had to be careful. I didn't want her to destroy everything first. So I kept my plans hidden, waiting for the perfect moment. Every night I'd lie there in bed, feeling the weight of the truth pressing down on me. I'd stare at the ceiling, imagining her face when she found out I knew everything. That image kept me going, fueling my resolve. Eventually, I realized I couldn't keep pretending. I woke up one morning knowing that the game was about to change forever. I had enough to end it all: her lies, her secret weekend, her betrayal. It was time to take control. I grabbed my phone, started drafting a message that would change everything, and prepared myself for what was coming next. I knew no matter what happened, I'd finally get the closure I needed. The moment of truth was near, and I was ready to face it head on. Do you want me to continue? The day I finally decided to act felt like stepping into a storm. I'd spent days gathering every shred of evidence, every sneaky message, every hidden receipt, until it felt like I had a stack of proof that was impossible to ignore. But I also knew that words wouldn't be enough anymore. If I was going to make her feel the hurt she'd inflicted on me, I needed a plan that would leave her no doubt, something precise, cold, and calculated. I set everything up late that night. I arranged for her to be out for a few hours, telling her I needed some time to clear my head. Instead, I stayed home and executed my plan. First, I took her phone, the one I'd been meticulously monitoring. I transferred all the evidence onto a flash drive: screenshots of messages, hotel receipts, even the note from that secret envelope. I wanted her to see everything all at once, with no room for denial. Then I removed the house keys from her purse and replaced them with a spare. I didn't want her to think I was rushing to throw her out just yet, but I did want her to realize I was serious about taking control. My palms were sweaty, my stomach tight with adrenaline, but I kept calm. I knew I had to stay composed or I'd blow my chance. When she finally came home, I greeted her with a smile I didn't feel. "Hey," I said, voice steady but cold. "We need to talk." She looked surprised, almost nervous, as if she sensed what was coming. She sat down, trying to appear normal, but I saw her hands trembling slightly. "I've been doing some thinking," I started, pulling out the flash drive. And I found some things I really wish I hadn't. It's about us, about our marriage." Her eyes widened. "What are you talking about?" I didn't waste time. I plugged the drive into my laptop and played the video I'd made, screenshots linking her secret messages, the hotel receipts from her weekend getaway, and the note she'd written. Her face went pale, her jaw clenched, and her eyes darted everywhere but at me. "You lied," I said quietly. "You betrayed me. All these years I was blind, was I?" She tried to speak, to deny it, but I cut her off. "No more lies. I have everything right here. You planned this, didn't you? The secret weekend, the hotel, the messages. You thought you could get away with it." Her voice cracked. "It's not what it looks like. I was stressed. Don't lie to me," I snapped. "I know what I saw. I know everything, and honestly, I'm not even mad anymore, just hurt. But I want you to understand, you don't get to play me for a fool and walk away." She looked like she was about to cry, but instead she snapped back. "You're overreacting. Everyone makes mistakes, right? Everyone doesn't cheat on their spouse," I said coldly. "You crossed a line, and I'm done pretending I didn't see it. I want you to leave now, and I want my life back with someone who actually cares about me." Her face twisted with anger, but I pushed back. "No, you made your choice. I'm not going to let you ruin everything we had. I've already arranged for you to get your stuff out in the morning, and don't bother trying to deny it. You're caught. Every message, every plan, every secret, you're exposed." She looked at me in disbelief, like I'd suddenly become a stranger. "You're going to throw me out after everything?" I stood up, grabbing my keys. "Yes, I am. I refuse to stay with someone who would betray me that way. This isn't just about the affair, it's about respect. And you lost mine long ago." She yelled something I didn't catch, some angry excuse or plea, but I didn't care. I was numb, both from the betrayal and the relief of having finally taken control. As I walked out, I couldn't help but feel a strange mix: satisfaction, anger, and a deep, aching sense of loss. But I knew this was only the beginning. Her betrayal had opened a door I'd never wanted to walk through, and now I had to figure out how to close it forever. I left her standing there, stunned, realization sinking in. I knew she'd try to spin this, deny everything, but I had the evidence, and I was ready to take the next step. My heart was pounding, but I felt strangely lighter, like I'd just shed a heavy coat I'd been carrying around for years. Now I was finally free. Or so I thought. And that's when I started planning what came next. Because revenge isn't just about revenge. It's about making sure she understood exactly what she'd lost. And I was going to make damn sure she remembered that for the rest of her life. The morning after I handed her the evidence, I woke up feeling like I'd taken a long, exhausting step into the unknown. The house was eerily quiet. I stayed in bed for a few minutes, listening to the faint hum of the city outside and trying to ignore the hollow ache in my chest. I knew she'd be furious, probably crying, pleading, maybe even begging for forgiveness. But none of that mattered anymore. I'd already made my move, and now I had to follow through. I didn't want to just toss her out without making her understand the depth of her betrayal. That's when the idea of a slow, calculated revenge started to take shape. I knew her habits, her secret spots, her favorite cafes, her close friends. I had to turn her own game against her. I needed her to realize she'd been played just as I'd been played. I spent the morning setting my plan into motion. I reached out to her closest friends, people I'd known for years but ones she trusted implicitly. I told them she was going through a rough patch, that I was kicking her out, and that she needed support. I didn't give away too much, just enough to make them suspicious. I wanted her to feel isolated and exposed. I also booked a small hotel room nearby for her, under a fake name. I wanted her to think she was getting away for a few days, but really I was watching her from a distance. While she was out doing who knows what, I snuck into her phone and set up a few accidental notifications. Fake messages from her lover, messages she'd see pop up on her screen, confirming what I already knew: she was caught. I even arranged for some of her hidden contacts to be sent sleazy messages, just to make her panic. I knew she'd try to cover her tracks, but I wanted to make her feel cornered. Later that evening, I called her from a blocked number. "Hey," I said, voice smooth but cold. "I know everything. The affair, the planning, you can't hide from me anymore. But I want to give you a chance, for your sake, to come clean. Meet me at that park near our old place at 8 p.m. If you don't show, I'll broadcast everything to everyone we know, your choice." There was silence on the line. Then she whispered, "You're crazy. I didn't mean for it to go this far." "You already crossed the line," I said, my voice low and deadly. "You want to keep lying? Fine. But I'm done being the fool. Come clean or lose everything." That night I hid behind a tree at the park, watching her arrive. She looked frantic, eyes darting everywhere, clutching her purse like a security blanket. When she saw me, she froze. I stepped out, feeling a strange numbness mixed with my rising anger. "Did you really think you could keep this hidden?" I asked sharply. "I've got everything, every message, every secret plan. You thought you could betray me and walk away." She looked like she was about to cry, then suddenly snapped, "It's not what you think." "We're just—" "Save it," I interrupted. "Your story's already written. You lied, you cheated, and I'm not going to let you get away with it." She sank to the bench, tears streaming down her face. "I didn't want to hurt you. I was just stressed, confused. It's not about love anymore. It's about me losing myself, and I didn't know how to fix it." I felt my jaw tight. "That's bullshit, and you know it. You betrayed me, and I deserve better than this. So here's what's going to happen. You're leaving tonight. I've arranged everything. Your stuff will be packed, and you're going to start over, somewhere far away from here. You can't stay in my house. And if I find out you're trying to contact him or anyone else, I swear I'll make sure everyone knows what kind of person you really are." Her voice cracked. "Please don't do this. I can fix it. I'll go to therapy. "No," I said, cutting her off. "There's nothing to fix. You made your choice and I have mine. You want to ruin everything, fine. But I'm taking back control now. You're out of my life and I want you gone." I handed her the keys to the hotel room I'd booked, and she stared at them like they were a poison. She didn't argue, didn't fight. I'd already taken the power away from her. As she walked away, I finally felt the cold, unshakable satisfaction of reclaiming my dignity. Walking back home alone, I realized how deep the betrayal went. But more than anything, I knew I'd turned the tables. Her secret was out, her world was crumbling, and I had struck back in the only way I knew how, by exposing her, by taking control, by making sure she remembered this moment forever. I stood in my empty house, feeling the weight of it all settle inside me. It wasn't revenge for revenge's sake, it was justice. She crossed a line, and I made damn sure she'd regret it every single day. As I picked up the phone to start finalizing the divorce papers, I knew I'd be better off without her. The trust was gone, but at least now I could finally begin to heal. Want me to continue? The days that followed were a whirlwind, and honestly, I felt like I was living someone else's life. I stayed busy, pouring myself into paperwork, finding a new place to live, and cutting off every last link to her. She moved out the next morning, and I made sure she took every piece of her stuff, knowing that her presence in my house was a constant reminder of her betrayal. I handed her the keys, watching her face twist with anger and regret. It felt good. No, it felt necessary, to take that final step and reclaim my space. But even as I thought I'd dismantled everything that connected me to her, I knew this wasn't the end. Revenge isn't just about making someone feel the pain they need to understand the full weight of their actions. I wanted her to remember what she lost, not just for a moment, but forever. So I kept my plans in motion, quietly, carefully. The last thing I wanted was for her to think she'd escaped unscathed. That evening, I went to the local cafe where she often met with her friends. I'd already told a couple of her closest confidants some story about her needing time to herself, and I made sure to leave subtle hints that I knew everything. I wanted them to know she'd been caught, that her lies were exposed. I watched her friends' faces, the shock, the regret, the shame, every expression a badge of her betrayal. I didn't confront them directly, but I wanted her to feel the cracks forming in her support network. 2 days later, I sent her a text. It was simple. "You can't run from the truth. I know everything now. It's over." No threats, no anger, just cold, clear facts. I wanted her to know she'd lost control, that I was the one holding all the power. That night, I sat in my new apartment, finally feeling a flicker of relief. The pain was still there, sure, but it was shifting into something sharper, determination. I had taken her down piece by piece, and I was ready to move on. I had even started seeing a counselor, talking about everything I'd buried for years. It helped, but what really stuck with me was the realization that I'd finally regained my dignity. The moral: no one, and I mean no one, has the right to betray your trust and expect you to keep quiet. I learned that silence is a kind of complicity, and sometimes you have to use every tool at your disposal to protect yourself. Revenge, in my case, wasn't about hurting her. It was about reclaiming what was stolen and making her see she couldn't get away with it forever. I know some people might say I went too far, but honestly, I don't regret it. She needed to face the consequences of her actions, and I needed to be the one to deliver them. I'll never forget the moment I handed her the keys and watched her walk out the door, her face a mix of defeat and fury. That image fuels me every day. I got my closure, my peace. And now I can finally breathe again. If you're ever in a situation like this, remember, trust is fragile and betrayal hits hard. But you don't have to be a victim. Take control, gather your strength, and don't be afraid to do what's necessary to protect yourself. Because at the end of the day, you're the only one responsible for your happiness, and nobody can take that from you unless you let them. Want me to finish with part 6? That night, after everything was done, the keys handed over, her last bag packed, and her car pulling out of the driveway, I sat alone in what used to be her space. The silence was deafening, but somehow it felt peaceful. I stared at the empty walls, the quiet filling the void where her presence used to be, and for the first time in a long while I allowed myself to breathe. It wasn't easy. The pain lingered, yes. That ache of betrayal still echoed in my chest. But beneath it all, I felt something sharper, something that had been buried under years of doubt and complacency. I felt like I'd finally taken back control of my life. I'd faced what I had to face, done what I had to do, and now I was free. The storm had passed, and what remained was quiet clarity. I knew I would be okay. Not because I'd forgotten what happened, but because I'd chosen to move forward. I handed over the divorce papers that day, signed everything, and sent them off. She made her choices, and I made mine. That's what really mattered: standing firm, refusing to be a victim anymore. I've learned the hardest lessons about trust and betrayal, but I also learned about resilience. About how sometimes the only way to heal is to tear down what's broken and rebuild from the ground up. I won't lie, there's a scar left behind, but scars are reminders of survival. They're proof that you can come out the other side stronger and wiser. If there's one thing I want others to take from this, it's this: don't ever let betrayal define you. Yes, it hurts. Yes, it's humiliating. But you control what happens next. Take your pain, learn from it, and use it to protect yourself. Trust your instincts, gather your evidence, and don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. Because in the end, the only person who truly has your back is you. And as I close this chapter, I do so with a renewed sense of hope. Life will throw curveballs, but they're just opportunities to grow. I've lost my marriage, yes, but I've gained something far more valuable: myself. And that's the real victory. Sometimes the greatest revenge is simply walking away and reclaiming your peace. And I did exactly that.